Um, Welcome to the City of St. Louis Community Development Association, CDBG, virtual overview. Today, we are going to be talking about CDBG funds, which it stands for Community Development Block Grant. For those who may not know, funds that are available through HUD for distribution to the City of St. Louis and our subrecipients. My name is Rashonda Alexander. I work on this wonderful team with a lot of great people, including our executive director, Noelle Pfeffer, and our wonderful team, senior team lead, Ruth Kenoy, Marnita Spite, who is our special assistant for development, Dr. Barbara Milan, who is one of our community development specialists, along with Mirka Estrada and Alejandra Vargas. We make up your monitoring team members and will be helping to usher in your subrecipient questions and contract questions and just give you some guidance as we work through this next year. Also on our webinar today is our Public Information Officer, Mr. Tom Nagel, and Kevin Ellison, who is, he's everything, but his official title, I believe, is Executive Assistant, that he is to Noelle Pfeffer, our Executive Director. So let's jump right into today's agenda. We've done introductions, so our next step is the RFP review. So the request for funds is now posted. It's on the CDA website for this year's CDBG award. You will find that there are over almost $10 million of available funds for this year. Let's go to the next slide. And I'll give you a run of show, as Tommy would say. So we did introductions. We're going to do the RFP review. And just take note, this draft is what was initially posted. Because today is the 7th, the deadline is now September 7th. So just take a quick note, jot it down, September 7th, 2023. We wanted to give all of our partners a little bit more time. So this draft is just a draft. That's why it has a big DRAFT on the front. There's a new proposal deadline of September 7th. We'll do our overview. We'll talk about the timeline, including the deadline, how to apply, which we will toss over to our senior monitor, Ruth Kenoy, eligible applicants and uses, and then wrap with some questions that you may have. Next slide, please. So CDA is a clearinghouse of all federal, state, and local funds for the city of St. Louis. And we have a mission to empower and develop and transform our great city using these dollars. And your help as subrecipients is paramount to our success. So thank you for all that you do to help us clear these funds for our citizens. Next slide. These are some of the great organizations we work with and who surround us to make the work relevant and effective for the city. Next slide. All right, so under $10 million in available funds, specifically $9,954,536.55. This year, being in total transparency, in the spirit of transparency, we wanted you to know that we have up to $5,129,200. Wait 1 second. Up to $5,129,283 program for this year of 2024. Where you see reprogram funds and that amount, it is recaptured funds that we are putting back out to our subrecipients, $4,825,253.55. And we wanted to do this to make to allow more opportunity for impact, reprogramming these funds. There are 3 national objectives that HUD requires that we adhere to. It needs to be a benefit to low and moderate income individuals. It must eliminate slum and blight, and then there also must be an urgent need. One of the 3 of these national objectives needs to be filled. Urgent need is not applicable, however, for this CDBG funding cycle. The activities that we are going to fund include public services, special economic development, and then public facilities and improvements. If you would like a complete overview of what HUD lists as eligible activities, there is a link there below that you can reference, and it's like a 96-page document for your enjoyment, for your reading enjoyment. Next slide, please. To piece out our eligible activities, these are some examples which we currently have contracted with subrecipients for: economic development, including micro enterprise assistance programs and business development programs, run the gamut, all listed here. One of our priorities is for youth. You will find that the mayor has made youth one of the city's high priorities for this funding cycle. So early childhood education centers and all activities surrounding youth are a high priority this year. Next slide. You will see more public services listed alphabetically, not in terms of importance, but just alphabetically, which is the only reason why youth is listed here last. It's just because it ends in Y. If we did like zoo aerobics, that would be listed last, but we don't. Next slide. Zoo aerobics. So for our timeline today, we are doing our first overview. I want you to pay special attention to September the 7th. That's when the CDBG proposals will be due. Also, questions. If you have any questions, you'll see in the RFP that August the 11th, excuse me, the 19th. If you have any questions concerning this RFP and want to email us questions, you'll find August 11th will be your deadline for that. Or is it the 18th? It's listed in the RFP. So excuse me for that. We'll have another capacity building training on the 16th. And a month from today, we'll have funding recommendations posted to the CDA website. Based on these funding recommendations, we will get approval from HUD and have public hearings and use everything that we've gotten from you and from the community to put into our action plan. Next slide. So how do I submit? If you are familiar as a subrecipient that has worked with CDA in the past, you know that we use a system called EGRAMs, and I will toss it over to Ruth Kenoy to talk more in depth about how to submit in the process for this cycle.
Thank you, Rashonda. And before I get started, because I have not seen this PowerPoint until this meeting, I just wanted to ask Tom if we have any additional slides about EGRAMs. And if not, I'm ready to just explain a little bit. You will see a link on this slide, which shows you how to get to our grants management database. And you're going to use this database to submit your proposal. It's also going to be used as you go through the grant cycle in terms of making changes to proposals that are accepted for funding. It'll be how you draft your contract. It'll be how you do your monthly reporting and provide all of the information that we need here at CDA to make sure that things go smoothly and everything is documented and ready to go so that the contract process is carried out during the years. So you will be assigned a monitor if you receive awards, and that individual can also help you if you have other questions and concerns about the database. But for now, just follow this link. There are training links on egrams to show you how to do things. You can request support through egrams on the proposals and any questions that you have, and it will alert us here at CDA so that those questions as you go forward can be answered, because we don't take direct questions. We want everybody to have the same opportunity in terms of the application process and to keep it fair and balanced. So we ask that you please use egrams when you apply for your grant. And if you have questions about the HUD process, then by all means, we can talk to you a little bit about that. But it's pretty straightforward. I think a lot of people who will be tuning in today may already know the process. And there is, again, as I said, training on the website. So any questions at this meeting, just let us know after we get through the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. This is to answer your question, the only slide we have on egrams. We just want to make sure people know right off the bat that that's the portal for the application, and there'll be more information in our next workshop, and we encourage people to visit the training already available online. I will share that link in the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yes, thank you. I was looking at some of the questions, and anonymous attendee, you asked, does this mean that fiscal year 2024 funds plus the reprogram funds are available? Yes, that's exactly what it means. So a little bit under $10 million of CDBG funds are available. Another question is, will Neighborhood Transformation Awards still be announced in August? Yes, they will. And we can apply for the same projects again, but if we're awarded through NTG, it won't be necessary. So I guess that's not a question, but the answer is yes. The neighborhood transformation grants will still be announced in August. Can nonprofits apply for street and sidewalk improvements under public facilities? Yes, you can apply. So the short answer is yes. There is more detail, and yes, the short answer is yes, you can apply. So we'll just move right along and to the next slide. So our funding, our high priorities, of course, remain affordable housing. Just note that this is the non-housing CDBG funding cycle, but it is still a high priority for the mayor, along with special economic development. And the next slide will talk about youth. Pictured here, you see our new Northside Hub for small businesses and incubators at the at Sumner High School. So if you haven't had a chance to go by, you should. It's a very, very good good initiative for our city. Next slide. And we talked about public services and youth as another high priority. The following slides, you will see a gamut of varying priorities that still remain, including combating homelessness in terms of outreach and emergency shelter, rapid rehousing, planning. Next slide. Public facilities, improvements in infrastructure, our admin, and we go to the next slide to talk about NARCISS. These are our neighborhood revitalization strategy areas. You will find that we have two identified for our north side and also choice. So these are the areas that will amplify our public services cap if you are to do any work within these areas, including Baden, North Point, and all those listed below, and those located within the city's promise zone boundaries. And then we have our choice NARSA, established with the near North Side Choice footprint and Old North St. Louis Place, and other neighborhoods of the North Side. Next slide, please. Thought we had one more slide, but we don't, which means that we've come to the end. Feel free. Can we go back? This is our contact information and what you would use to send your RFP to CDA NOFA at stlouis-mo.gov. And I see we have Q&A next and more questions in the chat. Oh, you're welcome, everybody. What was the amount of total funds distributed in the 2023 cycle? So is Brian on the call?
If you give me a moment, I can look that up for you.
Okay. If you wanted to come off mute, do we have that option, or should they just type all of the questions? Let's see, can you just confirm the only things you can apply for begin on page 11 of the RFP? Okay, let's look.
Sure, if folks would just like to raise their hands or use the chat or Q&A features, whichever your preference is, we can bring you on to the Zoom and you can ask us questions, or just put them into the chat and we'll go from there. That might be disabled. Trin, STLTV, can you take a look at the chat and see if we can open that up? And in the meantime, if you'd like to type questions, you can do them in the Q&A or raise your hand and we'll bring you into the Zoom to ask questions live. Okay.
And what did you want me to do with these links?
I think we're all fine. I think our chat was off and I just turned it on. So
Okay.
attendees can now chat. And
Okay.
So Jennifer Allen, she asked, can we confirm that the only things you can apply for begin on page 11 of the RFP? Not the only things, these are funding priorities. So the expanded list, there is a link to all that you can apply for that HUD funds as eligible activities. That's that 96-page document. I believe we will put it, a link to that. If it's not currently on the website, we can add it. But those high priorities and also listed priorities will take priority over other, pardon me, eligible activities. So that's why they're listed there. Let's see. Are there any drastic changes between this year's RFP and last year? No, not really. Dates, deadlines are different. And then also change between last year and this year is that we put the actual available dollar amount for year 24 and then also reprogram funds. Ruth just came in and she gave me the document for previously allocated funds, and that was $18,283,812. There was a question asking what was the amount of total funds distributed in 2023, and that answer is over 18 million. The reason for the cut, you can talk to Congress and the House about that. All right, your congressman or state rep about the drastic cut to available HUD funds for the Community Development Block Grant. which is another reason that we've reprogrammed funds from previous years to do our best at that shortfall, to combat the shortfall, I should say. I don't see any other questions yet, or any hands raised.
In the Q&A and in the chat, it's a question from Jessica. Should the proposals be sent through egrams or to the email? And then her second question is, should they apply separately for housing versus non-housing proposals?
Yes. Yes, you should apply through egrams, and yes, you should apply separately for housing.
And then
The email is just questions.
Keisha has a question. Are street and sidewalk improvements, are those coordinated through the City of St. Louis Streets Department?
Yeah, so that's why we said you definitely can apply for funds, but it would be a little bit more detailed because of the coordination, the intragovernmental coordination that will need to take place.
We have a hand raised from Jennifer Allen, so I'm gonna bring Jennifer on. And Jennifer, if you
You hear me?
unmute, we hear you.
Okay, so just to be super crystal clear, the reason I asked that question is because on page 11, it says activities eligible for 2024 funding, but I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correct. It sounds like you're saying the high priority as well as priority areas also mentioned on page 6 and 7, you can submit projects according to those priorities as well.
Absolutely, yes, you can.
Okay, and then my next, I'll just do one more question and you can answer it now or later. The geographic north side areas that you're prioritizing, is there like a scoring rubric where if your project does not fit into that geography, you get, I don't know, 5 less points, or can you just kind of discuss how projects are scored?
So in the past, a scoring rubric was used. We haven't had anything posted just yet, but we will share something. And I know that Ruth can speak more to what was done in the past, and then you can look forward to postings about the scoring rubric here in the near future. Ruth, did you want to?
Yes, previously and probably again this year, there will be an additional point system if you have a project within the NARSA area. That's to encourage development in those areas and public services.
Thank you.
And it was usually like 5, at most 10 points, but I think it's 5 points.
We have a few more questions in the Q&A from Christine. They are interested in HUD goal suitable living environment, increasing access to quality public and private facilities and services that crosses with the city's consolidated plan related to affordability and access to quality food in underserved areas. Would CDA fund purchases of food through distribution through OFS community partners and or additional metro market stops or stationary farmers markets?
You can certainly, I know Christine. Hi, Christine. We worked with her agency for a SLURF award on food access. You can certainly apply for that. It would, of course, be through the facilities here in St. Louis City limits, as you've been doing for the SLURF, but food is a HUD eligible CDBG project that you could apply for. Absolutely.
And there's another question. Does the training show you how to add a new application? I can see the 2023, but not the 2024 available in EGRAMs. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, let me check on that, Christina, before we have our next meeting. I'm going to check to see if we need to do something on our end with opening up for 2024, because we may need to contact our database administrator on that one. So that might be what's going on. Because today is just like the initial sort of get to know, this is how you do this sort of thing. But we do need to open that up and make sure everybody has access. So I will check on that this afternoon.
Great, thank you, Ruth. We have a question from Keisha. Could the public services for crime prevention include target hardening projects to a facility? I think that's a new word that means stronger doors, locks, security, etc.
We would want to see the actual application, but public improvements to facilities is an eligible use. So I don't want to give you a hard yes and without seeing the application, but I would say definitely apply because crime prevention is a priority.
Great. I don't see any new questions in the chat or Q&A. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to just raise your hand or type them in, and we're here to answer them. We're here for you. Jennifer has a question. Is there a way to see the sections in the application outside of EGRAMs? Do we have those sections in a PDF? I assume to review so you can prepare your application before entering EGRAMs? Yes, for preparation. I believe that might be in the RFP, Rashonda.
I
The
was just,
different sections. Yeah.
yep, it's in the latter pages of the RFP
Great.
in PDF format. So you'll be able to prep away, Jennifer. Or did I hope I said your name correctly.
There's a new question in the chat. Is there a place to find a comprehensive list of requirements for vendor selection?
When you say vendor selection, are you meaning, can you clarify that? Are you talking about how we select subrecipients, or as a subrecipient, how you select a vendor? Either way, to be a subrecipient with CDA, you need to be a nonprofit for these CDBG funds and registered in SAM.gov with a UEI number and
That would be the procurement process, which if you get an award, then that'll be in your contract and your monitor can work with you on the requirements for how you're going to select your vendor. But the short answer is that we typically require that you get at least 2 different bids or quotes on the services, and we just kind of go from there. You'll get a checklist. It'll tell you everything that you need to do, and you'll have a program monitor to work with you on it.
Thank you, Ruth. We have a new question in the Q&A. Is offering food at or below cost an eligible use? For example, Metro Market or free through a community food partner?
I do not think so, because we have the food pantries that get the CDBG funding all provide food at no cost to the recipients. So that's something we would have to check into. You can go ahead and put that in part of your proposal. And if it's not something that's eligible when we check with HUD, then we would just say, you know, if you get the award, here's the award, but this output and the criteria are not going to be eligible under your proposal. So it would just need to be updated at the point in time before you get a contract.
Ruth, is that a question that, because we will accept written questions until August 17th, that we should ask Christine to write to us?
Yeah,
so we can look into
Christine, if you
that?
want to shoot me an email with those types of questions, then I can check with HUD and let you know. And we can also, if anybody else is interested on that, please just also email those questions to the NOFA link there that was provided, and we'll make sure that you get the answers you need.
As we get those questions for the competitive part of this process, we will post all the questions and answers so everyone is working with the same information as they're preparing their applications.
Yes, to Casey's question, we're going to let you guys know when EGRAMS is opened up. I need to check on that this afternoon.
Great. Well, if anyone, we are here. So if anyone has any questions about this process at all, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll bring you onto the Zoom, or if you'd like to get into the chat, we'll answer them for everyone. And then again, if you write to that CDA NOFA, NOFA at stlewis-mo.gov, there'll be a written question that we'll research, and we'll post all the questions and answers on our website so everyone has the same information for their application. We do have a new one in the chat. Jessica asks, how soon do CDBG funds have to be spent? That's a good question.
Well, we want you to spend them down by the end of December 2024.
And that's listed in the RFP as well as one of the questions we ask. Does this program will funds, do you anticipate funds to be expended by December 31st, 2024? So
And what would happen if funds are not spent by that time period?
then we will use those funds for next year, and we will have another reprogram funds category.
Or, yeah, it's, you know, we can't
And sometimes,
guarantee that contracts can be extended, but certainly if something happens, let's say the contract is executed late, which is often something we get into, but contracts can be extended. We just have to go through a process with that, and it has to be approved by CDA at that point in time. There's no guarantee, but it does happen.
As a follow-up question, can CDBG funds be used as reimbursement for funds previously spent towards a project or program?
Not if it's something that happens before the proposed activity has occurred. The proposal is going to be what you plan to do with the 2024 funding in the year 2024. And yes, CDBG funding is through reimbursement.
And pre-development costs are eligible. The application is available now, not through eGrams, but it is in a PDF format on our website, eTaylor, and we are looking into getting it live on eGrams as well.
So Bob has a question. What is the submission deadline for the proposals for the neighborhood transformation grants? I think we're past
Mhm.
the deadline for those, but and that was May 15th, but we will be making awards recommendations, funding recommendations next week, starting with housing. And then in the other categories, stay tuned for the coming weeks and months for the rest of those projects. We had an overwhelming response, over 200 applications or proposals total, with about $200 million requested of about 20.5 available. So our team is very, very busy rating those, and we'll be able to make announcements starting with housing next week. And with that question, I'll make a quick plug that the best way to get information on those announcements is CDA's new e-newsletter. So if anyone heard about that, it means you're already on our email list, and now you're on our e-newsletter list. So thank you for reading and attending today. If you are not on our e-newsletter list, it's the best way to get updates on funding cycles, awards, upcoming opportunities, the many job opportunities that CDA is available to administer ARPA funds and other funds. And you just go to stlewis-mo.gov/CDA and scroll down a little bit and sign up on our form right there on our homepage. It's the best way to stay up to date on everything happening here at CDA and the opportunities that we have for you, our partners in the community. A few more questions in the chat. We'll start with the neighborhood transformation grant question because there's a lot of interest. Will we have a timeline or an estimate for the next categories in the announcements? The answer is yes. I do not know when we'll be able to release that. And Rashonda, I'm not sure we would like to make any estimates right now. We are very busy reviewing these, checking for eligibility first, and then now we're doing our ratings. So stay tuned, but by the end of the year, we should get through funding recommendations, contracting, and then finally awards. So by the end of 2023. Eugene has a question. Can CDBG funds be utilized in the education community on legislation passed into Missouri, the Citizen Land Development Cooperative Capacity Building Operation cost? I'm not sure I understand that question. Can funds be used in education I'm not familiar with that. The Citizen Land Development Cooperative. Ruth or Rashonda, are you familiar with?
No, but CDBG has to be a measurable and based on need sort of activity. If you look in the RFP, it describes what you want to consider. We do provide funding for educational programs, and we do provide funding for capacity building and cost of operations, but it kind of depends on a more you would have to be more specific about what exactly you're going to be doing with that funding and whether it meets one of the HUD, for the low moderate income or low moderate area benefit, which is the focus of the CDBG program.
Great, thank you, Ruth. If you have any questions, feel free to just drop them into the chat or Q&A, and we'll read them out. Or if you'd like, you can just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll bring you into this session and you can ask questions live. We are here to help you, and we're happy that you joined. We're excited to use this funding cycle to really empower the community and your projects and your mission to improve the lives of people here in St. Louis. Shonda or Ruth, is there anything that hasn't been asked that you think would be helpful for the group here? Anything you'd like to share, or observations, comments, FAQs, etc.?
I don't have anything additional
Okay.
to share
No,
besides
these have,
thanking people for coming today.
and these have been great questions. They help us too to know what people are going to be looking for and possibly that we can assist with. It's been very nice. Thank you.
Great. Well, the 2024 CDBG RFP is out. The PDF is posted on CDA's website, stlouis-mo.gov/CDA. There's a link to it right there on the homepage. If you scroll down to funding and training, you'll see it right there. On that page, there is also lots of great information, previous trainings, meeting recordings of the last public hearing that we did, and a lot more information. And if you have questions in the future, you can always write to CDA NOFA, CDA NOFA at stlouis-mo.gov, and we will post all written questions and answers online. There's a new question here from Jennifer. Who should we contact if we have problems with EGRAMs? Can we share that again? I don't know the answer if there's an EGRAMs issue.
Just email us at the NOFA link that you provided for questions, and one of us can take a look. And there is also a link once you get into EGRAMs and you're registered. I believe when you do your proposal, there is a link that goes directly to the EGRAMs administrator if you have problems with the database. But if you try that, I have had people who have done that and not gotten a response. If that happens, just use both of those contact information emails to get in touch with us, and we'll take care of it.
Great. Well, we're getting close to about 4 o'clock. So, once again, we'd like to thank everyone that attended. And if you read the news in our e-newsletter, thank you for being a subscriber. We're really excited to be able to more efficiently get updates out to this awesome community of service providers and nonprofits and people that really care about St. Louis. So thank you for attending today, and thank you panelists, and Rashonda. We can wait for a few more questions, or we can get some closing remarks.
Well, we have another workshop for you scheduled on the 16th, and we'll be going over best practices. And in the meantime, I echo what Tommy said and what Ruth has said. Just that's gratitude for you doing the work in the community to help us clear these funds for our citizens. And we will see you guys on the other side one way or the other. Oh, you're on mute, Ruth.
I was going to say, Tom, before you go, be sure to provide a link so people can look at previous newsletters. That's just popped up as well.
Oh yes, definitely, will do.